Hello and welcome to episode 151 of First Geek 411. I'm your host, Cameron Franklin, and with me, as always, is my best man, Chris Nicolay. Chris, how are you doing today?
Hello, and I'm all right. That's it. That's all I got.
That's all we got today. Joining us from, I assume, snowy Colorado, Emma. Emma, how are you doing today?
We have maybe less than a quarter of an inch of snow, so I'm not complaining, but pretty good.
And joining us from what I can only assume is a sauna, Shanine. How's Canada doing?
Surprisingly warm for December. It was plus 10 Celsius today. So,
What's that in Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
like, almost shorts weather.
And then we will get to know them more in a moment, but we are joined by our guests, Rachel and Evan Welcher. How are y'all doing today?
Excellent.
Yeah, good to be here.
Before we get to know them, let's run through our social media. And of course, this week we're talking about, did not prep this ahead of time. KFC has a Lifetime movie. Marvel's launching new Alien comic. We're trying to save Tolkien's house. And then WB is putting all their stuff on HBO Max. And then, of course, our top three will be our top three books/stories to read at Christmas. You can find us on our social media at OneGeek411 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And then you can join our Discord if you want to chat with us in between podcast episodes. Send us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com and check out our show notes on our website, onegeek411.com. You can watch live on our Twitch each Monday night at 6:45 Mountain Time. Be part of our post-show chat. And of course, you can find the video later over on YouTube. You can rate and subscribe wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Shanine, take it away.
Alrighty. Our very festive special guests are both authors of these recent books, Talking Back to Purity Culture by Rachel Joy Welcher and Advent, A Thread in the Night by Evan Welcher. You can find reviews of both of these books at the Hoot and Howl. And also we recently talked about Advent, A Thread in the Night on our book club, which you should definitely go check out and go read the books as well, obviously. Evan is a pastor of Vine Street Bible Church in Iowa, and Rachel is the worship leader there. And please introduce yourselves.
I'm Evan, and this is Rachel, and I am full of that Advent sadness. I'm loving it. Happy Advent, y'all.
Sad boy winter. Evan and I are actually very happy people, but we also have both experienced grief, and so we aren't shy about lament, and we appreciate when, especially our churches, make space for things like Advent, where people can feel the things they need to feel and grieve the things they need to grieve. And so I'm sure you noticed that in Evan's Advent book, that he doesn't shy away from the really tough stuff in life. But even though we've both written about extreme grief, we just laugh all the time. And we feel like the other side of that is just appreciating God's kindness and enjoying his gifts.
Yeah, so I'm a pastor and a writer. I like to write books that make people cry. But then at home, I'm just laughing all the time and having a great time. And Rachel's also a far better writer.
Nope.
She's a full-time writer.
I'm a different writer, but
and
we're both poets, though, so that's something we have in common. We both have collections of poetry, and that's one of the ways we like to kind of work through the things we've been through.
And that's who we are.
Yep.
Happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you.
I just want to point out how strong their backdrop game is.
Yeah.
It's a real backdrop, man. Our friend just came over and organized our books. It was such a mess, and she alphabetized them, and like, this is our theology section, part of it. And then I have my poetry all in one space now. I'm so happy. Got fiction, nonfiction.
But here's the deal. A bookshelf is like a graveyard, is like the kingdom of heaven, because you go to the M section and you got John MacArthur and Merton right next to each
There
other.
you go.
And a section over, you got Henry Nouwen, and they're all hanging out on the bookshelf in fellowship.
It's gonna be heaven.
Mhm.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
They don't get along in
That's-
real life.
Yeah, in real life, John MacArthur would not hang out with Henry Nouwen, I don't think.
But on my bookshelf, the neighbors.
I love that. That's really good.
That's awesome. Okay, so you mentioned Advent and Lament, but how are you guys observing Advent this year?
I wonder if we can show
Oh,
the
I'm glad you
camera.
asked. Oh yeah, we got ourselves a little
Oh,
pagan
more
tree
bookcases.
and an Advent candle thing.
I don't know if you can see, but we've got some Advent candles right there. See what it looks
Yeah.
But speaking of things you like to geek out about, have you guys read up on Advent colors? Because
Yes.
like
Cheers.
some people use purple, but I'm going with the blue route, which was like
Is that more Protestant?
Sarcom, I think. The Sarcom liturgy from England in the 12th century. They were using blue instead of purple.
Mhm.
But then this one thing I read said that it was all about how you could dye stuff with berries.
Mhm.
And in northern England, the berries were blue, and down by Rome, it was more purple. And that was the only difference.
Oh, that's cool.
That's mind blowing, guys.
I'm a Catholic, and we're big into the purple thing, especially
yeah.
for Advent. So
Very cool.
I learned all about it.
Nice, nice.
That's awesome.
There
Yep,
was a
so we're
period of
celebrating.
time where purple, at least so fabric dyed purple was more valuable than gold, because to create
Really?
purple was such a unique process that it was considered like the epitome of wealth.
Wow. That's cool.
Well, that's what Lydia was doing, right?
Right. She was a seamstress? Dyer.
A dyer of purple.
That's right.
Yeah,
Lydia in the Bible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
she was loaded. You got a house church in your house, you gotta be loaded, man. She had a big
At
house.
least she had rich clients.
Yeah. Okay, so you both being authors, what is something that has come up while writing that has surprised you, either through research or just through the act of writing?
Good question. I had heard, I think it was maybe Hemingway who said this, but I'd heard this idea that if you stopped writing while you still had something to say, that when you got up the next day and sat down at your typewriter, computer, quill and paper, whatever, that you would be able to write. And so I tried that a few times when I was working on my book, where I actually stopped writing when I still had some more to say, and it worked. It was so real. Like, I must have processed some of it while I was sleeping, and then the next day I just was able to write so much more quickly than if I just exhausted all my ideas for the day and quit kind of in almost frustration. So that's just one thing I discovered.
I've run into a lot of editors saying that you've broken the laws of grammar and you can't do that, and
I'm one of those editors.
space-time continuum, can't push words together like that. You can't capitalize stuff in the middle of the sentence, stuff like that.
This is why we have to self-publish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed that Evan loves the ampersand in Advent, the Thread of the Night. You cannot do that.
I'm a huge fan of the ampersand.
Yeah, you can only get away with it because we did it ourselves.
You guys remember when Prince became a unpronounceable symbol? That's what the ampersand is like. I'm here for it.
He does what he wants.
True. Okay. And how do you cultivate an atmosphere of creativity in your home?
We buy a lot of books that we've not read, and we put them on the walls. and makes us feel smart. That's half the battle.
Our house is kind of a chaotic, it's cozy chaos. I always have crafting projects flying around. But we just try to create, kind of a coziness that is good for writing and reading. And so we've got lots of candles. I am a plant person because I'm from California. So living in Iowa can be a little rough in the winters. And so I have just green everywhere, just vines. I have to have living things around me. And so our house is very green. And actually, I don't know if I can show you our kitchen, but I painted it bright yellow just for joy.
Oh,
I love that.
I'm a fan.
That's great.
Bright yellow. I've got
I have
them
mixed
everywhere.
feelings.
So we want to paint the outside of our house that color when we get a chance. So
What color is your front door?
red, bright
It's
red.
That's
Yeah.
what I like to hear. That bright red door is where life
Yeah.
is.
Yep.
We wanted to be an Episcopal church.
Yeah,
right?
we just pretend we're Episcopalian.
All right. And then the classic First Geek 411 question. What are some things you guys are geeky about?
Oh,
Ladies first.
I geeky about, like, that I just obsess about. So I mean, writing, of course, I don't just write, I like read books on writing and teach writing and things like that. But for fun, I craft. To quote New Girl, I craft so much. Seriously, like in the winter, I'm crocheting stuff. I'm doing like embroidery. For a while, I was making stuffed animals for my nephews, and like, yeah, stuff like that. And then I paint. I do jewelry, just anything you can think of. I love to craft, especially like at night if we're watching a movie. I just like to be making something. So Evan's really patient. I have just piles of different half-completed craft projects all throughout the house, all the time. So that's probably the thing. I don't know if I say that I geek out about it, but I'm always crafting.
If it counts for you, it counts for us.
Okay,
And you even snuck in a New Girl reference.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
That counts.
Well, I geek out about a number of things.
Yeah, he does.
One of them is I love Stephen King. I
Yes.
can't get enough Stephen King. He has such a big canon, and as a writer, you got to give him mad respect because he is productive. And for half the time, he was on cocaine, but he was still just knocking out these massive novels. It's a miracle. It's amazing. But I really like Stephen King because it's not so much about the gore and the blood and the slasher stuff. He's got this whole rich mythology about thin spots in reality where you can almost touch another world, and that's where all the creepy stuff's really going on. And so he's a little deeper, I think, than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
But he has a very rich canon. I like to geek out about the church calendar because initially I thought the church calendar was this way to be connected to the past, to this ancient, beautiful thing. And it is, but it's also something that denominations disagree about. Like they can't agree on the colors. And so I find all that fascinating. Like, how do you use something that's visual, a visual medium in a sacred space to convey something has spiritual meaning? And I think all that's very fascinating because we are we're going to be resurrected in bodies, so I think our senses will matter a lot more than a lot of our Sunday school lessons would lead us to believe.
That's good.
I'm geeky about fountain pens and stationery, and I'm geeky about Civ 5. The only video game I play is Civilization 5.
This is the only game he plays, but he plays it.
My brother made me. I was a widower, and I wasn't. I had nothing else to do. My brother's like, "Let's play some Civ." And they keep coming out with new ones, but I'm like, nah, I like this old one. I'm gonna play some Civ 5 forever. I love it.
So I'll just like walk through the family room and ask him who he's conquering, or like is he Is he building the culture this time, or is he just attacking people?
Liberating.
Liberating. Yeah.
Yes.
Liberating people, huh?
Okay, Attila.
My wife hops in the chat and says, as Church of Christ members, we don't know a lot about colors or art. It's sad,
Oh.
but true.
Yeah, I didn't grow up with much symbolism either in church, and so I really appreciated learning about it.
So here's a fun fact, though. The church I came to was called First Christian Church. So it was founded in 1857 out of the Restorationist Stone Candle movement. But at some point, they became disciples of Christ, which is more mainline. And so they got all into the church calendar and the paraments. But yeah, we got some of that history in there. Do you hate pianos?
Personally, no.
Okay.
I'm also very pro instrumental music. So
Do you fellowship with a cappella only?
our church is a cappella only. Back when I was a
awesome.
minister, there was a Christian school in town, and they did like weekly chapel, and they would ask the ministers and pastors from various churches to come in and lead chapel. And they'd asked me to come in, and they had like a worship band and did all this stuff. And afterwards, the person who was like leading from the school and was leading things came up to me and apologized. Cameron, I'm so sorry. I know you're a Church of Christ. I should have asked about the instrumental music. I'm like, dude, you do you. This was great.
You're like, I hate music. I hate it all.
Like,
Now,
anything I can do to
remember
not
from a
have just a
previous
cappella.
episode, are you a youth pastor still?
No, I was for about 4.5 years.
Okay.
So, now I work for GameStop. Very opposite of youth ministry.
Corporate life.
Yeah, corporate life. So Evan got me thinking, and I have a little Stephen King quiz for us. How many novels has Stephen King written, according to Wikipedia?
Oh man, that has to be like
A lot.
250. I'm gonna guess 250.
I'd go for from Price is Right. I'm gonna go for 249.
Hey, we get something for this?
A gold star.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thrill of being closest. So according to Wikipedia, Stephen King has published 61 novels, 5 nonfiction books, 19 screenplays, and 200 short stories.
Oh,
That guy, that's insane.
He
So-
just keeps going.
Yeah, so doing quick math, that's about 300 things.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
So-
crazy. And I hadn't read any Stephen King other than he wrote a book. It's his autobiography. It's called On Writing. That is a really good book because he basically gives writing advice and life. So that's the only one I'd read. But then Evan has gotten me into a few of his short stories, and I can't handle all of it. But it is better than I thought, and he's very creative. So it's fun to kind of get lost in those worlds.
Yeah,
I don't
I've
love
only
all
read The Shining, and it terrified me so bad. And I really want to read more Stephen King, but also I still haven't worked myself up to it like 10 years
Oh.
later.
Oh man, well
It's
now
still
he has
haunted.
Dr. Sleep, so
The,
gotta
the
follow up
only
with
thing
Shining.
the only thing that makes The Shining worse is when you happen to live in the town with the hotel that inspired Stephen King to write the book.
do you
which
live
is-
there?
I live there.
Right by
Estes
the
Park,
door?
Colorado,
Mhm.
right by the Stanley Hotel, where he stayed for a night and was
Oh.
just like, all right, I'm gonna write this book about this hotel.
It's actually where
And-
Emma was staying when they were evacuated.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Under no condition.
it's so cool.
All I can say is it's not what it's made up to be. It's just a historical site, but the book itself is pretty amazing. So
From there, I guess let's jump into our favorite things from this past week. Rachel, do you have a favorite thing that you've been up to?
You know, I've been doing a lot of podcasts for the book, so that's been fun. But it was actually really fun this week to just watch Evan be with his best friend. His best friend visited from Baltimore, And I don't know when the last time was he was able to come in person, but I think it's so great for men to have friends. That might be a weird thing to say, but I just think it's maybe more rare than it is for women. And so it was really fun for me to watch them build a bonfire and just like, they can talk about deep stuff, but then they'll just transition into being ridiculous, and just, it did my heart good to see that. So that was my favorite part of this week.
That reminds me of a quote. Husbands don't have friends. Their wife has friends, and those friends have husbands.
Yeah. Right. And that's usually how it is. So I like that he has, those friendships that he keeps up, and I think it's good for the soul.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned a book. What book is that?
Talking back to purity culture, rediscovering faithful Christian sexuality. Yep. So that's been fun. Because of COVID, I'm not doing any in-person events. And so it's like doing a virtual book tour via podcast interviews. So I'm really thankful for technology and the fact that people are wanting to interview me about the book, because it's hard to publish a book during COVID. A lot of writers have experienced kind of the disappointment of that, but so far it's been good. And I think it's because people are willing to, do things like this and not just say, oh, never mind. Yeah, they're resourceful.
Awesome.
What has been your favorite podcast that you've been on?
And why is it ours?
One. Ooh, that's a tough question. I did one with Andrea Burke, that was the second one I ever did, and she just asked really great questions. So I enjoyed that. But each podcast is different because people they read the book differently, and they have different things they want to talk about. And so there are certain things I say over and over again, and then they'll always throw me kind of a curveball where I'm like, oh, okay, that's an interesting interpretation. Then adds interest. So I'm not bored. I'm never bored.
Nice. Evan, what all have you been up to?
Oh, well, Rachel stole mine. I
wrote it down here.
My best friend came from Baltimore. He's from Baltimore, Maryland. And we're reminiscing like two old geezers that we met 19 years ago at Bible college. We were freshmen in Bible college, and we went to a Plymouth Brethren school, and so that's pretty niche denomination if you guys ever research those guys. But none of us were brethren, and so they put four of us guys in a room, and he and Seth came from Baltimore. They were PCA, Presbyterian, and I was United Methodist. 19 years ago, they actually were a little bit more united, not so much now. And then they threw a Baptist in, and so they put all the non-brethren guys in the same room, and we were just we were quarantined, we were shunned, and somehow we became great friends, and we've maintained the friendship all these years. And he's got 5 kids. He's living a very different life than I am. But I remember just vividly the first day of school when we were all moving in, and I had recently been saved maybe less than a year before I went to Bible college. I was an ardent atheist. I wore black every day. I came from this blue-collar biker family, and the Lord got a hold of me, and I knew after being saved that I just wanted to spend my life telling people about Jesus. And so I went out to this Bible college I didn't really know a whole lot about, and I was driving a 1979 Ford Ranchero. I was really into grunge music, and for some reason country. I was playing the country real loud when they were moving in, and these two boys from Baltimore came in, and they listened to Linkin Park every day. That's who they were. Linkin Park all day, every day.
Oh,
can't blame them.
And somehow we forged a bond there, and it's a gift from God. And so we had a good time just hanging out this week.
Hear that, Cameron? Just 7 more years.
Yeah, 7. We'll be there soon.
Wait, did you guys meet each other in Bible college?
Yep.
Whoa!
Youth ministry program at Oklahoma Christian.
Nice.
Yeah, I lived in Tulsa for
Oh, awesome.
Founded a Christian school there, so.
And Rachel, we have a request from chat. Can you give the quick elevator pitch for your book?
Ooh, okay. So my book, sorry, I'm going blank. It's hard to summarize. I cover a lot, but basically,
It's a sex book.
Evan says it's a sex book, but that's not accurate. It reevaluates the core teachings from modern evangelical purity culture. Things like, a period of history, late 1990s, early 2000s, that was marked by purity conferences, purity rings, and just these commitments to abstinence. And what I did is I kind of traced those messages that were coming out of that movement to see if they were actually biblical. So that's really my goal, is to hold all those things up next to scripture and to see what we got right and what we got wrong. So I spend time talking about the books that influenced that movement and what they taught and where they veered from scripture. And then I try to reinforce what a biblical sexual ethic looks like and how the church can do better moving forward. So there's a lot that I could say, but that's sort of a basic summary.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Emma, what all have you been up to?
Not a whole lot aside from work and getting ready for grad school, but I decorated the Christmas tree this weekend, and that was a lot of fun. And spent some time playing more Valhalla for Assassin's Creed. Again, I almost called it Animal Crossing, and I knew that wasn't right. I have it written down as AC.
I would also snap play Animal
But,
Crossing Valhalla.
That would be great. I would love that.
That's the
but-
crossover we need.
Absolutely.
Modders, get on it.
Yeah. I'm still not super far into it, but I'm definitely enjoying it so far. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Shanine, how about you?
We also decorated for Christmas, which is super exciting. Other than that, been playing a lot of Bug Snacks. I've finished all the side quests, and now I just want to go and catch all the snacks that I missed before I finish the main quest, which
Nice.
is very exciting. And then I have also started playing the Nutcracker and the Dollhouse D&D adventure by Legend Weavers, which you can find them on Twitter. I made a super fun gnome artificer with like frost powers and stuff, like a Christmas elf. And I just love this character so much. It's very hard to do a one-person adventure. The things to fight are very hard. And my husband was DMing for me and may have fudged a lot of numbers, but we did it.
But you did it. Yeah, it was really cool hearing you talk about this character in our Discord, and just the like, we're being silly, but I actually really like this character.
Did you get inspiration?
It started out as a total joke. I'm like, it's a Christmas adventure. Of course I want to be a Christmas elf. And then I made it and was like, this character is actually really awesome.
Did you get some inspiration for your character from our next, which is next week's book club?
Yeah, I've totally started reading that, Chris.
I actually have, and it's great. And I would love to base a character off of the polar bear.
I know, right? He's my favorite.
The
For
polar
sure
bear
my
is
favorite.
great.
Is the polar bear going to be the MVP of this book club?
Probably.
Yes, absolutely. I'm calling it now.
So, Rachel and Evan know what we're talking about. So for next week, our book club next week, we're reading the Father Christmas letters from Tolkien.
Oh, cool.
Also the actual
bought
letters.
it.
Yeah, he just bought that.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
where I put it, but I did.
It's-
buy it.
It's
somewhere.
wonderful.
It's on one of the shelves.
It's the most
Yeah,
like
she put it somewhere. Probably
sweetest,
under tea.
Under tea, right? Yeah.
endearing thing ever. It's just the actual letters he wrote to his children as they were
Aw,
growing
that's
up, and he writes these characters. And yeah, there's a polar bear, and he's my favorite.
Yeah.
That's great.
Every
He's-
book club, we pick a non-main character to be the MVP.
Oh, I like that
So,
idea. That's
Yeah.
great.
So for Sherlock Holmes, it was Mrs. Watson was our MVP.
Nice.
And then for Sleepy Hollow, it was Gunpowder the horse.
Love
that
it.
was our MVP. And so, Chris, what all have you been up to?
So this past weekend, I took a mini trip about 2 hours away out of town to a small town called Arley, Montana, where there is the most random piece of, like, I don't know. It's a garden of 1,000 Buddhas, and it's in the most random place in Montana, and it sticks out, and it's a very wonderful place. It's really cool, but it's just so random. It's in most, like, probably most country part of our state. But it was a cool experience. I've been wanting to go and check it out. I've heard different things about it. It's just a different, really random thing sitting in the middle of Montana.
It's super pretty from the pictures online.
Yeah, it's a really cool place. I want to go. One thing about this trip, so there that I really want to mention is there's a part of this drive that was the most random change of scenery. So you go under this animal land bridge when you're driving, and as you drove through, it was just suddenly frosty everywhere. Like, it's been pretty warm here, so it was mostly green for the most part, like up until then, and you pass through and the trees and everything, it's just white, foggy, misty, crystallized ice off all the trees. It was like passing into Narnia.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
And it was the coolest experience. I wish I would have had my phone recording at the time, but I was like, maybe some other time we'll try to see if we can recreate this.
Yeah.
But yeah, even then, like, driving back out, it's like, okay, don't need my sunglasses, everything's soft enough, and you drive under the bridge, just one side of this bridge, and then it's just blinding light. I'm like, it's literally 20 feet. How is the weather that drastically different?
That's crazy.
It's because it's a magic bridge, Chris.
It has to be. That's all I can think of. I'm like,
It's magic.
it's like,
I've played enough RPGs to know how this works.
it's like, how is all the clouds just here and then completely sunny on the other side? This makes no sense. But it was really cool. My friends hit me up and they are starting to want to put together another D&D campaign. Fortunately, I won't be DMing, so since I'm busy working on our campaign, that hopefully will start early next year. But I rolled a new character, and I am rolling a Turtle Ranger, and I'm really excited about this character. I have him. I'm gonna go with one of the UA lineups, so it's still in testing, but I'm gonna have him a Drake Warden Ranger, and he's essentially, since turtles come from eggs, he's raised by dragons. It's gonna be great. We'll see how this entire backstory plays out. But yeah, we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. And then I've continued working on some maps and stuff for a homebrew campaign for you guys.
Hey.
So excited.
And then, like Emma, I have been playing more Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Was able to stream a little bit of it Friday afternoon. And so, getting pretty far in the story, I feel like, ? Not really sure. It seems like they're about to reveal, like, the first piece of Eden in the game. And so, looking forward to finding out a bit more about that and how it connects to, like, the meta narrative that connects all the games. And so that's been really fun. Really liking Eivor. Yeah. And then on Disney Plus, we watched Into the Unknown, which is I think 6-part docuseries on the making of Frozen 2. And so they have some really cool, like, behind the scenes footage of Disney animation and stuff like that.
Nice.
And it's really interesting to see, like, their creative process, because with it being animated, stuff, like, isn't set in stone until, like, basically the very end. And so there were, like, certain creative decisions that they made after their first, like, public screening when the movie was, like, 90% done. So, like, if you've seen If you've seen Frozen 2, there's the scene where Olaf summarizes the whole first movie. That was added because kids at the first screening found the movie confusing.
Oh, interesting.
And so like that was added with like 3 months left before like
Oh my
the
gosh.
movie was like live.
I can see it though.
Yeah. And so it was super interesting to see all of that. You get to see all the main cast all comes in, and you get to see them recording their songs and stuff like that. And it was really cool. I love that type of docu-series, behind the scenes stuff. So right up my alley. And I guess with that, let's jump into our discussion topics. Each week, people bring a topic or question or comment for discussion. And then for our guests, Rachel, do you have anything for us this week?
Like news and things of interest, is that?
Yeah.
Well, I did read an interesting article about this son who decided to design an app. I think it's for Apple smartwatch app for his dad, because his dad had post-traumatic stress. He'd been a soldier and he came home and was just really struggling. And so he was having nightmares, and just, these really intense nightmares. Not everyone with post-traumatic stress experiences that symptom, but I think a lot of soldiers do. So anyway, the son wondered if he could create like a vibration that wouldn't wake his dad up, like wouldn't interrupt the REM cycle, but that it would intervene. And so he worked in, I guess in the beginning, and this is an NPR story, but at first it kept like waking his dad up, and so it was interrupting his sleep. But eventually he got it to the right like vibration that it just would interrupt these horrific dreams, so that the dad could fall back asleep, or that, I don't know, so he could not have to be traumatized every time he went to sleep. And so the dad just said it's life-changing. So I was reading that and thinking about friends who have post-traumatic stress, not necessarily from being involved in war, but from different types of trauma, and just wondering like if that kind of app might actually be helpful for them, to help them with those dreams and flashbacks. So anyway, I thought that was really cool, just the way technology can help people even in kind of almost a therapeutic way.
Yeah, that's really cool.
You guys been paying attention to all these obelisks that keep showing up in random places?
Oh, the monoliths?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was hoping someone would bring the monoliths.
Utah, Romania, and now some beach in the UK. I'm loving it. I think they're just showing up in flyover country because the aliens know we need something.
They know we need some hope.
Take
We
me
need
away.
something fun for 2020.
Yeah. Just take it.
Forget the
Alien
monoliths. Just
hope
pick
knows
me
what
up.
you need.
Yeah. Make Iowa famous.
SOS. SOS.
I saw a meme. I don't know if it's true, but it said that someone triangulated all of them and found out what was in the center, and it was a bass hunter's pyramid.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I hope that's true.
Right.
I think Colbert had a joke that was, it's either aliens or this is like a viral marketing campaign for Mountain Dew. Like, it's one of those.
That's great.
They would.
Oh man. I'm super into the monoliths. I think it's anytime like something completely random like that happens, like that just gets me so excited.
What gets me excited is that the people doing this are able to keep their mouths shut.
Yeah. I would not be able
Also
to.
true.
Like those are my favorite kinds of things where it's like, yeah, we did it. We're never owning it, but
We did it.
and it's just like it's just a forever mystery. It's just I don't know.
It's a long time.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah. You put in your obituary. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was me.
I
did
was
it.
the monolith.
I was the monolith.
I love it. If you could put a monolith anywhere to cause the most chaos, or not cause chaos, I like causing chaos, but put a monolith anywhere, where would you want it to be?
Somewhere in the North Pole where it'd take people a long time to find it.
That's good.
Then once they got there, it'd have like a I don't know, congrats, you found me.
It's like
Or something like
worst geocache ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Coordinate 00.
I put it in North Pole and then have a little sticky note stuck to it that said, Santa Claus lies beneath this monolith.
You realize Santa Claus?
You're
He
like,
died of a broken heart.
oh.
Oh, no.
He's twisted.
So I'm the complete opposite. I'm thinking like middle of Times Square in New York.
But like it's expected there
Yeah.
is the
You
type
would,
of thing.
run into
So-
Banksy, like headbutt him. So
Oh man.
I know somewhere in the world there's like 4 times over an island on an island on an island on an island. So there's
Oh, I've seen pictures of that.
I'd put one there.
Yeah.
Like on the innermost island.
Shanine, do you have a monolith location?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of what would cause the most chaos. And I feel like putting it in front of an important door so you can open it like a couple of inches, but you can't get through.
yeah, that's good.
I like it.
Put in front of the White House.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, if you stuck one into like an important Mayan ruin and got that whole Mayan calendar doomsday thing going again, that would really get people riled
Oh,
up.
that's
It's like an
Yeah.
addition to it's like the completed calendar. It's like, yeah, it ended here. Here's the rest.
Yeah.
Doesn't mess with them.
It's a cosmic camper stamp.
Yeah. Also.
Yeah, so I was thinking chaos just in terms of inconveniencing people. You're on like a whole nother level of chaos,
Yeah.
which I am all on board with. I really
Yeah.
like where that went.
I really like the idea that ultimately, like where these things are popping up, that eventually it's gonna reveal something, and
Yeah.
it's like I know I'm pretty sure it just has to be a joke. There's no way it triangulates to a Bass Pro Shop, but that it's gonna it's, like eventually you're gonna triangulate these things to something just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I also really hope that when they were placing them, they knew it triangulated to a Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah.
Like I'm really hoping that was planned. Like
Not
even if
just
it's
any
not
Bass
by
Pro Shop,
Bass
one of the
Pro,
pyramid Bass Pro
Yeah.
shops.
Like I just hope they knew that. Oh man.
That's funny.
Love that. Emma, what do you got for us this week?
Oh, yeah. So Marvel is launching a new Alien comic series, which I find fascinating because I feel like the Alien franchise has a lot of stuff to it and like it doesn't really need anything more. But it also looks pretty fascinating and interesting because it follows a mercenary as he goes after a new breed of the xenomorph, essentially. So I'm just interested to see where it goes, and I'm wondering if anyone else has any thoughts on yet another Alien edition.
Time for more movies.
Yeah, not like we need any more.
We could always use more Alien movies. Not gonna lie. They come out with one like every what, 5 to 10 years?
Couple of years, yeah, every couple
just
of years.
randomly make a new one. It's like, yeah, we haven't done this in a while. Let's do it.
I'll say I have never seen anything Alien.
Oh, me either.
They're pretty predictable, but they're fun anyway. So that's my one output. Predictable but fun.
You never watched Prometheus, Cameron?
Mm-mm.
I thought we saw that together.
Maybe I blacked out. I don't like I don't do scary, so it's entirely possible.
It's not really
I
that
just, like,
scary.
I
Yeah.
fainted and just
It technically falls under the scary, but it's not. because
I mean, it's not
predictable.
horror.
It's not horror. It's
It's a-
just
it's a
like people
thriller.
split up in a very it's like you're in a scenario where you just shouldn't split up, and then of course people die because they split up.
Should never split
Like-
the party.
Never split up the party.
Always split the party.
So it's things like that where they split up and then you can go, these people are gonna die, and then they die.
My brother had a lot of the Alien action figures, and I gotta say, you throw in some of those Alien action figures and Ripley and all that into like a bunch of Ninja Turtles and Star Trek DS9 action figures, you got a party real quick.
Absolutely.
Evan just wants crossovers.
Yeah.
I want the crossovers, Predator and Alien.
How do you make an unexpected alien movie? You just throw them in a crossover.
Yeah.
Just have them randomly appear and be like, oh, this is suddenly an alien movie. Okay.
I say any movie's an alien movie. Rom-com, alien movie.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
and suddenly alien.
And it just works.
Oh, you thought you were watching a rom-com. False.
Nope.
They're always throwing ghosts into rom-coms. I feel like they could work with some aliens. That'd be much more interesting.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested if someone just got on this. Hey, Hollywood, hit us up.
Call us.
What does it? What are the requirements to join the Screenwriters Guild? We got some ideas.
Janine, what do you got for us this week?
Speaking of unexpected crossovers, Lifetime has announced a KFC romance movie starring Mario Lopez as the Colonel himself. It is apparently a 15-minute long spoof. But
And the title
frankly,
is
it
A
sounds
Recipe
amazing.
for Seduction.
That's great.
What would make this better if it was Hallmark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people on Twitter today being upset about this, but honestly, I think it's amazing, and it sounds
Yeah.
like a Lifetime movie that I would actually watch.
Right.
Yeah.
I watch it repeatedly.
You'll be the person that they tweet about, like, to the person who watched A Recipe for Seduction every day for the past 100 days. I need help. Are you okay?
Sending over a psychologist.
You won some fried chicken.
I mean, at the same time, this also doesn't surprise me coming from the same franchise that endorsed a Colonel Sanders dating simulator.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, of all of the like fast food chains, I would expect this from KFC. Like, there's some chains I'm just like, that would be weird. I wouldn't expect them to do it. But KFC, I'm like, yeah, that sounds right. They would do that.
Yeah, so like Chick-fil-A would make VBS curriculum, and I don't know what movies would other fast food chains produce. That's my question.
The
Well,
problem with
McDonald's had
Chick-fil-A
the whole-
is everything they would do would be unironically, but you'd really hope it was ironically.
Yeah.
You're like, please be ironic. Nope, they take this very seriously.
And
I still
McDonald's,
feel like it would be genuinely wonderful, though.
yeah, absolutely. McDonald's actually also had a whole bunch of Ronald McDonald cartoons in like the 80s or 90s that
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
exist.
That's right.
Mhm.
That sounds horrifying.
So, like, they've already gone through this before.
And Burger King has the video game Sneak King.
That's true.
hmm And Wendy's came out with a D&D adventure earlier this year.
Really?
Was
That
it
you gotta
Wendy's?
go through?
Yes,
Yeah,
it was
it's
Wendy's.
Wendy's.
Yes.
I think Taco Bell and PlayStation have like they've
Mhm.
married as far as their advertising, so I could see them doing something like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Baja Blast, it keeps you gaming
Oh
all
my
night long.
Yeah, all night long.
So I know we're talking fast food chains, but I would love a Baja Blast themed like sea movie. Like Sharknado, but it's Baja
Yeah.
Blast themed. And they like overcome with the power of Baja Blast. Like I'm oh, Oh man, that's the
If
dream.
Stephen King wrote that, Baja Blast,
Well, I was
I
actually.
know what it would be about. Because he just showed me Dreamcatcher. Worst movie I've ever seen in my life, where the villain is actually poop.
No,
Oh boy.
I mean, it's not. That's not. But like,
it's
come on.
it's an alien symbiote. Speaking of alien, that comes out of your intestines the wrong way, and
Disgusting.
it does kill you. But
Oh man. One thing I want in all of these ideas though is I want the Arby's Twitter feed featured.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
can't stop thinking about Ronald McDonald and it. Just
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. Trying to think what else. Trying to think of other like fast food chains. I could see like the burrito places doing like, by burrito places I mean like Freebirds, but doing some like super ironic like biker thing, like Sons of Anarchy, but it's all about burritos, something like that. Like
Yeah.
one thing that'd be
Now-
fun for McDonald's to do is like do like restaurant spinoffs based on the oddly named, similar but obviously distinct anime versions of their restaurants.
Yeah. See, now we're just giving them free advertising ideas.
we trademark all of these.
Yeah.
Creating music based on these to
Trademark.
infringe on our rights. I've said this, and that means it's legally binding.
These are timestamped and recorded.
Uh-huh.
We have proof these are our ideas.
Oh, man. Chris, what do you have for us this week?
Well, the first kind of cool news, hopefully, granted, it's not like a full relaunch, but PAX has plans to resume their conventions for East, West, and Unplugged for the upcoming year. Obviously, not mentioning some of their other ones, such as like PAX South or PAX Australia. But I guess ultimately we'll see. PAX East would be the earliest in the year, so that's the one that's most up in the air. But hopefully by next fall and spring, they'll be back up and running. They do talk about like their plans to hopefully keep people safe, or I don't know. I don't know what this is going to look like. Do we want to go?
Not to East. I'll tell you that much. East isn't that like, because that's typically like March, April. Like, I feel like that's still way too early.
Right. I
Like, I
agree.
feel like if you're canceling South in January,
Cameron just
like,
doesn't want to see the cold.
I mean, you're not wrong. I've been hurt before by PAX East, so. But I mean, West definitely seems a possibility by the time you get around to Labor Day.
And especially Unplugged, because that's November.
That's November.
Yeah, I'm not. I feel like they'll likely reduce attendance. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, PAX West is already too packed for its size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That convention is busy.
Yeah. Well,
They're like,
that
oh,
downtown
drive
Seattle
halfway
area
across
is-
town to go to this one event too. By the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in other news, this last week, some of the ultimately Tolkien's Home has recently entered the private market. Is up for sale, and as a result, some of the former Lord of the Rings actors have begun potentially started crowdfunding to kind of save it and kind of make it a landmark and kind of museum dedicated to Tolkien. If this property is big enough, I would be very down for a Middle-earth theme park. I mean, just think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Ghibli Park opening up in the next couple years. We got Super Mario World opening up. I can use a Tolkien park. It's really just a hobbit hole, and all you do is eat.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah. Theme
This
park.
is like a destination
It's just
restaurant.
it's just a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a
That's all it is.
destination restaurant. That's what it is.
Come live the
So
Hobbit
easy.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
they make you eat all the meals, all the Hobbit meals. And it's like, no, you will eat second breakfast and full
And
breakfast.
11
And
Which
11
means you're going to be here all day.
Full of a took.
Potato.
Boil and mash them, stick them in a stew.
Let's see. For me, something I thought was super interesting this week is that WB has announced that all of their 2021 movies will be released simultaneously on HBO Max, as well as in theaters. And so, and it is quite the list. Apparently, there's a Tom and Jerry movie coming out.
Oh, really?
Did not know
Oh,
that.
yeah, I saw pieces about that.
And it uses the ampersand. Just saying.
It's
10 out
like
of 10
why'd
review.
you go see this? There's an ampersand in the title.
Gotta support the ampersand. But Godzilla versus Kong, Mortal Kombat, The Conjuring, Space
They
Jam.
have another
the new-
Mortal Kombat movie
Apparently,
Yeah.
Space Jam?
new Space
Yeah.
Jam.
What?
Um,
So they're
featuring
not-
Squad.
New Space Jam is starring shoot.
Let me Google.
I'm not big into sports, but oh man.
I'm Googling. I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's
Go,
not coming to me.
go.
It's not gonna come to
LeBron
me.
James.
That's right. LeBron James will be the Michael Jordan replacement, which makes me that much less interested. No.
I would like to see Godzilla versus Khan from Wrath of Khan, Star Trek 2.
Oh, that's good. Spicy.
Again, we're getting those
Godzilla versus
crossovers. So I guess my question.
And then suddenly Alien.
Suddenly alien.
So my question for y'all is: do you think that this is a trend we will see other studios continue? Like, is this kind of just the first studio to do this, or do you think we'll see other ones try to get back towards a more normal release for movies in 2021?
Yeah, I give it a big thumbs down. I say boo on all of it. I want
Yeah.
the movie theaters open, the old studio system, all of it back. $200 bags of popcorn.
See, I love going to the movies with him, but I think it's changing forever because
Yeah.
I just think COVID has changed it. I mean, even, companies realizing that so many people can work from home, that's going to change. I think less people will work in an office. I saw an article just saying that people will just buy bigger TVs for their homes. It's almost like they're creating their own home theaters.
Mhm.
I'm not saying people are never going to go back to the movie theater because we will, but I do think that it's probably going to become less and less of a thing.
Right. I think
I
we're
like
the
institutions. Institutions, architecture, popcorn smell, gum on the seats.
I can put gum on our seats.
You see, if y'all want $200 bags of popcorn, y'all can come over after COVID and watch a movie. I'll make you a $200 bag of popcorn.
And I will sell you $100 bags of popcorn.
I think what's going to happen is we're going to see a lot more success out of the smaller theater chains, so like Alamo Drafthouse, where it's an experience. They're very focused on the quality, not only that, but also including additional things that make it an event for you to get together and do things with your friends. Probably more smaller theaters doing similar things. Instead of the big 8plexes and stuff. I think we'll see a return to the smaller theaters, such as like 2, 3, 4, where it's only going to be really kind of the major event movies that you want to see in theaters, instead of in less of the lesser known movies, kind of that it's like, I'm not going to go see a rom-com in the theater kind of situation. I can watch that in my home. And I think we'll see a lot more of that. There wasn't The Verge I think, was it The Verge? I don't know. Had the CEO of Alamo Drafthouse on recently, and they talked about that. And I'm intrigued. I think this will probably be like, we'll see a lot more studios do this for the 2021, just following kind of in Disney's footsteps for the most part. And we're already kind of seeing the breakdown of the golden age of streaming as a result, because everyone just wants to make their own money off their own products.
Yep, like The Office leaving U.S. Netflix at the end of the year.
To be on
Luckily,
Peacock.
He bought it for me. He bought all of it for me on DVD before that happens, because we can't really live without The Office.
Is this going to bring back the golden age of the DVD, where you don't want to give NBC money to stream all their garbage, and so you just got the West Wing and The Office on a 55 DVD?
I never really left the golden age of DVDs. I just sort of added streaming to it. So I was like, well, if it's on a streaming service, I'll watch it, but I would prefer to have it on DVD. So that's just my entire life philosophy.
I mean, no one's going to take Star Trek The Next Generation away from me. I bought it from Sam's Club 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Boom.
I completely agree with what you were saying. Kind of what we've all been saying, but especially Chris, what you were saying about like the theaters that can make it an experience. I think I think that we're going to see a lot of that, and then family movies. And those will kind of end up being the bigger parts, where it's the get the kids out of the house to go see the movie, or have a meal like your Draft House, your Studio Movie Grill, those type things. And so we'll see that kind of that event, that making it more than the I'm going to just go sit in a dark room and watch a movie on a really big screen with a nice sound system. So, and I'm definitely curious to what we'll see other studios do. I think one of the things that we discussed was when Disney put Mulan on Disney Plus, like, would we then see other studios do that same formula? And now that we've seen WB say they're on, or at least imply that they're on HBO Max at no additional cost, I'm hoping that means we'll see, if we do see this type of thing, we'll now see it swing that way, because now the pressure's on the other studios. This should just be part of the subscription. And
should not be a second $30 pay charge. Not $30 at the very least.
But,
it's like,
if there's a second paywall, maybe something less than $30.
But speaking of which, Mulan is free if you have Disney Plus right now, so you don't have to pay for it. It's just on Disney Plus now.
But yeah, I'm interested in that. And I think with them being just part of the subscription, there's probably a lot more of these I'll go see. Like, if I can just watch it day and date just at home, like, I'm probably more likely to do that. So
I mean, I'll do it while I'm working from home. It's nice to just put something random up on the TV, such as Mortal Kombat. What?
You know, I just want the red carpet and the premieres and the midnight showings, and why buy a meal at a movie theater when you can buy a bag of popcorn that costs as much as a full meal?
You get that free refill, though.
I want the people sitting next to me who I don't know and don't like.
And they're crying kid. That's ruining the experience.
I want the sticky floors.
Yeah, why do you like the movie theater? It's against everything.
I want the ketchup fights.
Yeah. I feel like Evan's been like really hurt by his local theater.
Yeah.
Like
really
like
hurt.
some like deep-seated like
He worked that one at one point. I don't know.
Trauma you'd like to discuss.
Yeah.
We're an open room here, open space.
Do you need that watch and app for your PTSD here?
It's love and hate. Like all keeping.
But that's one of Evan's dreams, is to own a movie theater, like one of those old ones. That's one of our many.
Which is the premise of Leif Enger's Virgil
Wander.
Wander?
That's a great book. Virgil Wander.
Virgil Wander. Very different than Virgil Walker. That's a whole different. Anyway, that's different.
We have a theater called the Myrna Loy Center. Mostly plays like the feature, like kind of movies, the kind of like indie films here and there, or like the Oscar movies that you wouldn't see, that never made it to technical theater or worldwide or nationwide theaters or anything like that. It's a one screen. It's actually in the building that it's in is the old like 1800s jail.
It's a weird looking building, if you ask me.
It's really cool. The history behind it is really cool too. But like all the bars are still there and everything. But it's also one of the only theaters you can go and order a beer in Helena. So.
There you go.
I didn't know that. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered until the last year I was there.
Yeah, they have a date night
But-
special. It's like 2 beverages and a large popcorn.
Dude, that's nice.
Super nice.
That's
And
wonderful. That's what I'm talking about.
yeah, so like those types of things. They also do an event like every week where it's a Big Lebowski showing.
Oh yeah.
So like everyone in
Yeah.
town is there, like that got tickets, is there dressed in Big
They dress
Lebowski.
up, yes.
Yes, and it's one of those awesome events. And I know Alamo Draft House does special events like that and things like that. I think they do like for Christmas they do like a elf event and things like that. Those are the types of things that are going to keep people going to theaters.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Plus a $5 matinee. You know,
$2.
when I was a widower, I'd get a day off, and back then they would open the theater at 10 a.m. And you like get up super early and eat a couple hot dogs for breakfast at the theater. You pay $5. You got the theater to yourself because no one else wants to get up that early and watch a movie.
How do
So
you
you're
know so much about my
totally safe.
life?
You don't know me.
Oh, but he does.
Those are the good old days.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
I mean, they were not the good old days.
You can get up and eat hot dogs at 10 a.m. if you want.
But they did not open the theater until 1,
Oh, yeah.
and they kicked all the old people and me out.
Rude.
I got issues. Movie theater issues.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So I want a reformation.
The Renaissance of theaters.
That's right.
Let's go on and jump into our top 3 list for this week. We are talking about our top 3 stories that you like to read at Christmas. And as always, you can let us know yours on our social media or in our chat here on Twitch. And we'll talk about them after we go through ours. So, Rachel, why don't you start us off?
Ooh, I don't have any stories that I like read each year, but I can tell you what I'm reading right now.
Go for
so
it.
it might not be particularly Christmassy, but I mean, I am reading. I've obviously read Evan's book because I helped him design it, and you guys read it. But I'm reading it again because we're doing a hashtag, a thread in the night, with people on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and I just encourage people to like post their Advent thoughts each day. So it's been cool because I'll wake up in the morning and just be having my coffee, and I'll click on the hashtag on Twitter and just see what people are going through, what they're thinking through. So I've been rereading it with people, which is a different experience, as you guys probably would agree. Like when you do a book club, it's different than reading a book on your own.
Yeah, because you have to come prepared. I have to talk about this.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, you actually have to read it.
Where's my notes?
That's right. And then I've been slowly working my way through Henry Nouwen's book, The Inner Voice of Love, because he basically said, don't read it fast. So it's these like letters he wrote to himself when he was going through a really hard time, and he decided to just kind of get away from everything and figure out, well, I don't want to say figure out, just draw close to God as the only source of life and contentment, and just kind of got rid of everything else in his life for a time to find that fullness in Christ. And so it's been really convicting to just, I read my Bible and then I read just one page of his book. So I've been working through that. And then a book that Evan and I love is Every Moment Holy. I don't know if you guys have this. It's just liturgies for everyday things. And it comes from Rabbit Room Press, but we really love it. When we moved into this house, we had a few friends help us move in, and we just read the liturgy for like a new home, blessing a new home. And they have things like that, like liturgy for a birthday party, or liturgy for, a hard morning, or, whatever. But I love this. So we we keep it around and use it from time to time.
Yeah, I love that one too. I just used the liturgy for fiction writers during
Oh.
NaNoWriMo this past
That's
month.
awesome. Oh, NaNoWriMo. I remember I used to do that. That's awesome.
All right, guys. Let's see here. Oh, what do we got
Not
here?
Christmas themed either.
Doesn't necessarily have to be themed. Yeah.
Oh man, Stephen King's short stories collections.
They're good.
There's so many collections.
Can you even read that in the month of December? I mean,
You could try. Yeah, you could try. Mrs. Todd's Shortcut. It's about this lady with a Jaguar, and she drives through different dimensions. It's just wonderful.
Oh, that's cool.
And Stephen King wrote a great heartwarming story called "The Cat from Hell," which I think you should read. If you have kids, you sit them down by the fireplace, by the stockings, and you read that. And
This is why we don't have children.
Fleming Rutledge Advent Sermons. I've been working on this for a couple of years. It's a little dense, but I'm working on it. So it's a Christmas tradition because I'm not done with it yet.
Yeah, you read it every Christmas because taking you.
You haven't finished it
Every
yet.
Advent, I take another whack at it. And Advent's a thread in the night.
Well, who wrote that?
Ooh,
Look at that. You can get that done in one Advent.
In one Advent.
easily.
you can get it. As some of us know, you can get it done in a night.
I kind of like Garth Nix. He wrote this nice series of stories about a necromancer who uses bells to do her spells, and bells remind me of Christmas. So I like that as well.
Nice.
Garth Nix, look it up.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Perfect.
Emma, what do you got for us?
I've my first go-to that I thought of was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, classic Narnia book, for Christmas. Not just because it's basically Christmas time, but it's also a good way to put the sacrifice of Jesus in a different light. And it's a good sort of reflection on that. And Christmas is about the birth of Jesus, but the birth of Jesus wouldn't be something to celebrate without the rest of his life and why he was born. So, and I just love Narnia in general. They're so close to my heart. And The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is a good way for my sort of fictional brain to take a different look every year on the life of Jesus while just reflecting on what we're celebrating. So
Shanine, besides Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, what do you got?
Besides Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I have.
Great minds think alike.
I mean, that's the obvious go-to, right? I had to put it on there just in case someone didn't bring it up. But I have A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Also, super classic Christmas.
Take it off of mine.
And I'll consume it any way I can. I'll read it. I'll watch the Muppets movie. Just like me some Christmas Carol.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. I love that version, or that it's such a good story. That's there's to what you just said. There's so many different versions of it. It's kind of one of those stories that you can just always find one that you connect with. Also, shout out to the Doctor Who episode.
Yeah,
Yes.
great episode.
Chris, what about you?
For me, I don't know why this just brings Christmas memories to me, but I'm pretty sure I read every Harry Potter book during the holiday season. And if I find myself rereading it, it's always during the holiday seasons or any of the books. So any of the Harry Potter books is on my list.
Okay, well, I'm going to be more specific, and mine is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So, and the reason for me is kind of like what Chris is saying. There's something about since those books use like the school calendar year, there's always something about that point where they hit the Christmas holidays. That's
Yeah,
always
that's right.
it's always that like that rest period in the books. And it's always super cool to see those. But I specifically like Prisoner because I think that's the first time they go to Hogsmeade. And there's
Yeah.
just something because of like watching those movies that like Hogsmeade is just one of those places I very much associate with Christmas.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like it's like that's like the picturesque thing that happens at like that setting. And so yeah, so Prisoner of Azkaban.
Just specifically.
I'm not taking 2 off my list. Emma, we'll go back to you. What do you got?
I've got a kid's book by the name of Olive the Other Reindeer about a dog named Olive.
Yes.
Live.
My Saints on
Ew.
Pun's well known.
Is the other reindeer. And I've always loved it's one of those books my family has that we pull out every year for Christmas. And it's just this really cute kids book. It kind of follows the story line of Rudolph, but also not. He's this little like Jack Russell Terrier and he helps Santa deliver presents, and it's just I love the art and I love the story of it. And the title is great, Olive the Other Reindeer. So that's my second one that I just like to look through every year. So
Janine? What
Okay.
about you?
I really love The Best Christmas Pageant Ever.
Hmm.
I remember reading this in school, maybe like grade 3 or 4, and I have just loved it ever since. And like the movie as well, again for this one. It's just such a heartwarming story. Seeing like the outcasts of society connect with Christmas.
Chris, what you got?
You can't have Christmas without the short story, The Gift of the Magi.
The classic.
Also, it's easy read. I don't even know who it's by. Is it like
O. Henry.
O. Henry? Yeah. O. Henry? Yeah. But yes, that's on my list. It's just a very straightforward tale for the most part, but really kind of captures at least the Christmas spirit in general.
I think the first time I heard that story was an Adventures in Odyssey special.
You too? No, I'm just kidding.
My next one, also a short story, and that's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Another
on
one
my
of those
short list.
classics that you can read, you can watch. There's so many different versions, even in the like different movies based on this. And it's a great tale with I think probably one of the best messages in like that, like goofy animated kind of world where it doesn't look like it's serious, but it kind of gets you with a really good like the meaning of Christmas kind of thing. And I really like that. It's not a twist, but that twist where the Grinch sees it's all about the ornaments and the lights, and so when he takes them all, it turns out that's not what Christmas is about. And I think that's something, especially in like our like consumerism culture, that we can get so focused on that we can forget that it's not about those things. But here I go preaching.
It's okay to preach.
It's all about getting more gifts than the year before.
37.
I learned that from Dudley.
Yeah, I was just
Exactly.
gonna say Dudley.
But they're
Dudley
bigger.
from
I
Harry
don't
Potter.
care.
No, she never thought 38.
35. Yeah.
Oh.
So, you know how the rule of top 3 is that there's no rules?
Yes, you have my attention.
Great, because my third one is a movie instead of a book. And that is The Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Because my family watched that we watch that every year for Christmas, and that's our tradition. It's not Christmas until we watch the Christmas Story, and it's very much like chaos, and you'll shoot your eye out, and
Yeah.
all of this nonsense. But in the end, they end up happy and still celebrating Christmas. So that's just a family tradition that it's not Christmas without the Christmas Story. So
That's cool.
Okay, my last one is my Canadian contribution. This is Christmas at the Vinyl Cafe by Stuart McLean. He was a Canadian radio broadcaster and kind of created this whole world of the Vinyl Cafe where this man owns a record store. And so in there, it's a short story collection, and he has a whole bunch of Vinyl Cafe collections, and they all center around Dave and Morley and their kids, Sam and Stephanie. And most of them are just totally ridiculous stories of crazy family mishaps, and like, especially like this one, all the things that can go wrong at Christmas. Like one of the stories, Dave has to figure out how to get a turkey cooked because he thought he bought it and then he didn't, but now it's frozen and it needs to be cooked in like 2 hours. And
oof.
Ooh.
Good luck.
yeah, just a lot of crazy adventures like that. But there's also some very just heartwarming family stories, and it's really fun.
My last one, I guess, is
thanks.
admittedly okay. Listeners, you can find us on our site. My last one is, I think it might kind of fall into the category of Evan's Advent book from earlier, where it's a Christmas story because I read it at Christmas once because it took me a long time to read it. And that's Jesus, a Theography, which is by Leonard Sweet and Frank Viola. It's one that I got right as I was graduating college and kind of carried me as I was like looking for my first job and things like that. It's a very interesting book about combining that idea of a theological biography on who Jesus is. And it's a really cool look back at that background and trying not to ignore the historical side of it, but trying to connect that historical side with the theology that's being planted in the Old Testament, centered on that fact of Jesus saying all scripture points to me. And so it was a really cool read. And it definitely is it's definitely not like a light look at who Jesus is and the importance of Jesus, but it's one that I really enjoyed reading. And I think kind of influenced a lot of my theology through that. So.
And my last one.
Oh, you skipped Chris.
Yes, you did.
That's what I was saying.
Too late.
Is obviously just because we're reading it and is probably something I'll return to year after year now, is the Father Christmas letters, or Letters from Father Christmas, that we are now reading for book club. And I don't know, I am just so in love with this book right now. Like, I love that this wasn't something that was meant to be put into book form, but now that it is, it's perfect.
Yeah.
The way he weaves in kind of the events going on in their family, as well as just in general current events during the time he wrote them, and his personifications of his characters. Tolkien just nailed these letters. And I love the idea of writing letters to your children as Father Christmas, but also as his friends from the North Pole, the polar bear and his friends, his elf friends. And also just seeing the direct influence of his writings for Middle Earth take place and take shape in this format.
Because he started writing the letters long before The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And then by the time he gets to those being released, you see like the Elvish language, written language, sort of peek in here and there, which is great. So, yeah.
But we'll talk about more of that next week.
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah, that's why I stopped there.
Speaking of next week, next Monday, our top 3 will be continuing our series looking at the fruit of the Spirit. We've done love, we've done joy, and now it's time for peace. And so we'll be doing that for Monday. And then Thursday, as Chris and Emma were saying, will be book club, Letters from Father Christmas. And so hope everyone can come in and hang out for both of those. And then speaking of hanging out, Rachel and Evan, if people want to hang out with y'all more after the cast, where can they find you?
We tweet a lot. I'm at Rachel J. Welcher on Twitter, and
I'm at Evan Welcher. And I'm on Instagram, Pastor Evan.
I don't know what I am on Instagram. I think I'm Rachel Joy Welcher.
I think that's right.
I'm on Hotmail.
Oh,
I was gonna say, it's like that's something we haven't brought up. Why Hotmail, Evan?
we have thoughts.
Yeah, so
stubborn. We've had so many conversations. I actually created a Gmail for him, and he refuses to use it.
I'm not going to be part of your corporation, man.
So frustrating.
so when I was a youth minister, I had told one of our kids to never trust anyone that uses an AOL or a Hotmail. And our church was using an AOL at the
Fix
time.
it.
It is, bro. It's horrible.
No, email is primitive. All you got to do is send a single message, and it works. Evan Welcher at hotmail.com. Send me an email.
Wow, you just shared your email.
I love email.
Business purposes only.
And then if people wanted to find y'all's books, where could they find those?
So all our books are on Amazon because 3 of them are we published through Dustlings Press. So my collection of poems, 2 Funerals and Easter, his collection Nightscapes, and then Advent, those are just on Amazon. And then you can find my book, Talking Back to Purity Culture, pretty much anywhere. So like you can buy that one from your favorite bookstore.
Awesome.
Yep.
And then for us, you can find us as One Geek 411, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can join our Discord server to chat with us between episodes. You can shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. You can watch live Monday nights, 6:45 Mountain Time, right here on twitch.tv/onegeek411, and find the videos over on our YouTube. You can rate, subscribe, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts. And then check out our show notes at our website, onegeek411.com, where you can find our sister podcast, Faith, Trust, and Pixie Dust. Then if you want to connect with us, you can find me at Humar Whittle.
I am not prepared with an I.
I'm the Hoot and Howl on Twitter and Hoot and Howl Tales, TALES on Instagram.
And I'm Not So Foreign. That's NOTSO4EIGN. Wash
It's been
your hands. Oh.
Chris, 151 times.
Hey, I've only been doing this year, so.
It has been a great week.
Hotmail forever.
Hotmail. I've made
Read
my
a
stance in
book.
Hotmail already.
Too legit. Too legit to quit.
You need to stop talking. He's trying to end.